Hi there, Aquarius. Welcome to your end of July 2017 tarot update. It's Raina here, shuffling the cards. This is a general focus for the last half of July. Wow, I've been drawing some reverse cards lately, which is highly unusual, especially with this deck. Okay. But sometimes reverse cards are actually better than the upright version, okay? Okay, so let's look at what is happening. You have a lot of cards that suggest drama, okay? And during this period of time, you're going to have, you're coming off of a full moon in Capricorn, and this is on the 9th for those who are watching. Oh no, actually I plan to deliver it on the 9th, so that should be at least on the day when you first watch this. And but you're coming off of that, so there could be, you know, there's like 2-week cycles for each of these full moons and new moons, and so that carries us into the second half of the month. The full moon is in your 12th house, so this can be secrets coming out. And for some of you, you're in an environment that is full of a lot of rancor or competition. Some of it, sometimes it doesn't have to be necessarily the worst thing in the world. But it can be something that feels like it's dog eat dog in a workplace environment. And perhaps there is a sense that you don't like to have to prove yourself. In the past position, for instance, we get this card of the Two of Pentacles in reverse, and this is kind of like even more like the Two of Pentacles in the sense that the Two of Pentacles in the upright position is a card of things being very hectic and maybe having 2 jobs. The number 2 can indicate that there's a duality, the choice, but it can be simply that you're working more than one job and you're trying to balance everything, and it's a juggling act. In the reversed position, it's like having too much on your plate. It's like you have a lot going on. But that Five of Wands, whether it's in the workplace or in your private life, is a card that sometimes can indicate there is conflict in your life, competition. Sometimes with that Five of Wands, it can indicate that you're dealing with somebody who is seeing other people, and you feel like you have to compete with other people to get this person's attention for whatever reason. By the way, I just wanted to let you know, when I put those cards in different piles and I was turning up reverse cards, it's my feeling that, you know, you get one reverse card, but if I had explored it, I probably had the deck upside down. So I did pick the final cards from another pile that I assumed, you know, was upright. And the reason that I do this, I kind of am one of those people that wants to have it both ways. I believe that reversed cards serve a purpose because there is, you know, there are 2 sides to things. However, I also believe that sometimes we make mistakes, or we're careless, we're not thinking, and we have the cards, you know, I've seen this on YouTube, where somebody has the deck turned upside down, and so every single card comes out in this reverse card. And that to me is a little bit annoying, because it's obvious that the person just was not aware, and when they picked the deck up, they picked it up upside down. So I try to do both. And I think that, and you know, and there might be multiple explanations or interpretations for each card, but the card I have as this card for the present tense, the Death card in reverse, this can be, I think that this can be actually a positive thing, where you are ready to move on. Well, no, actually, I think that in the upright position, it's a card of transition. I guess it depends on what position it's in. It could actually be that you are delaying the inevitable change of a certain situation. That is possible. And this, in the scenarios that I have already provided, this would be in the personal context. If a relationship is full of conflict and you know that it's really affecting you negatively, and you stay in that relationship, chances are you're afraid of change. And, you know, Aquarius is a fixed sign, and they tend to remain in that habitual pattern, whether they're happy or not, okay? It's just like this, it's like reptilian. It's a desire to maintain a certain schedule, or that's not the word I'm looking for, routine, okay? And that can not serve you when you're dealing with a negative situation. The same thing with a job situation. You may be in a situation where the whole idea of you competing is a game. It's being devised by people to keep you on your toes, to keep you like in that weakened state where you believe that other people hold the strings on whether you can eat or whether you can have a place to live. And it's really a wretched place to be. As the higher message, we have here the Page of Cups in reverse. Now, this can be the other person, and this may be the person that's throwing your life upside down in a haywire situation. This could be a water sign, especially a Pisces, who is exhibiting the shadow aspects of the Page of Cups. So this could be especially an addict, somebody who has a substance abuse problem, and what they are doing is they are turning your life upside down and manipulating. That's a big one with people like this. Water signs that have gone bad. They are manipulators, and they try to get, you know, tug your heartstrings because they feel powerless and they don't know how to change. Maybe they don't want to change. Maybe they want to keep using. Maybe if they're in some kind of a sexual addiction or compulsive behavior, they don't want to change that either. And they want to have their cake and eat it too. So the page can refer to children. So this is like a childish personality. This is somebody who never grew up, and they could be like, 50 years old. But this person is emotionally retarded, and the word retarded just means delayed. It's not meant, I mean, yes, some people use it in a derogatory way, but in this instance, I'm talking about somebody who is really stuck in an immature pattern. And they also can be very gullible people, and they're, very impractical, and they get themselves in a lot of trouble because they believe other people, they trust the wrong people, and then they want you to clean up their mess. So you have to decide whether or not you're willing to be with somebody like this or not, because the outcome could be really bad news. if you stay with somebody like this. And there's probably already a lot of conflict with you trying to deal with them. You might be trying to reason with them. It can also be that in the workplace, you are exhibiting the traits of the Page of Cups in reverse. I always like to think of this card, the Page of Cups, as, you know, it's like this person who is very innocent, and they may be very caring, but they are not really smart about their caring. They're not savvy. They care indiscriminately. And people, and you know, I've been saying this in these readings, that if you are somebody who is an Aquarius, you could very easily have one or more planets in Pisces because it's right next to your sign. I'm talking about personal planets, not Saturn or Neptune or something like that. I'm talking about inner planets, and or even the rising sign. You know, it could be any sign. The moon can be any sign. So the point I'm trying to make is that this could easily be a facet of who you are, where you tend to believe sob stories and you think you're being compassionate, but you're really being an enabler to somebody who needs to get their act together. In addition, you're not being compassionate to yourself. So, you know, when I think of the 11th house, that's the house that you rule, I think of the social worker, the social justice warrior mentality, where you're trying to save the world. And if only it were that easy. It's a two-way street. No matter who you're talking about, when you're trying to help somebody, they have to want to be helped. If they have an addiction, if they have problems just being responsible, they have to have a real desire. And sometimes it takes a lot of hard knocks before people are willing to change their ways. And you can really destroy your life trying to help somebody else. So realize that you are also somebody that matters. When you worry about somebody else and their life, never lose sight of your own life and sacrifice your own happiness for somebody else's. And same thing with on the job, you know. And I don't think this is the advice. I think this is what is coming in the near future, or it's something that you could be feeling, is a sense of oppression, a feeling that you are trapped. This is swords. This is your element of air. And the swords relate to communication and thoughts. So you are a prisoner of your own thoughts. You're doing it to yourself because you hold beliefs that need to be challenged. And I think that I just covered what those beliefs are, is that if you help yourself, you're being selfish, that we should always just help other people, and not understanding that help can come in different ways. It doesn't have to be this classic sense of, you know, you just tolerate everything, every bad behavior from somebody because they had a difficult childhood or something like that. Sometimes you're an enabler if you allow bad behavior to continue. Obviously, every situation is different. It's too easy to make it into a universal truth. It's not. And you're smart enough, insightful enough, Aquarius, and detached enough to be able to see what is your, you know, how you contribute to this, and not just blame the other person either. And so if this is a work situation and you feel like your hands are tied, that you can't leave a certain situation, remember that this too shall pass. And if you really have like bills to pay and things like that, that may very well be the case, and it's reality. And there was that movie, Reality Bites. Sometimes reality sucks. But we can work with it. We can embrace it and still be able to work towards something other than that. So I guess the thing is to recognize if you have to stay somewhere, stay in a job that you can't stand for the time being. But the more that you can work towards what you want, the less of this you're going to feel. That's the bottom line. You're not going to feel as trapped because you're going to be empowered. It's when you get into a rut. And sometimes this is from stubborn attitudes, rigid attitudes. The outcome is the Queen of Pentacles, very domestic, a double feminine energy. So it's kind of like going inward, but in a material sort of way. A lot of time at home. Perhaps you will quit and you'll have the first extended vacation you've had in a long time. And that may be very rejuvenating for you if you have the money to do so. Some of you may have the money, but you're still a worrywart. You're still trying to make sure that you have a consistency, a constancy in the money that you're bringing in. And yet, as I noted with your astrological forecast for July, you have a very long transit of Pisces in the second house, which really, that's your earned income sector. And this is a transit of Neptune in Pisces. I mean, I think I just said Pisces. Your second house is Pisces. But you have a Neptune transit in that second house, which can cast a lot of fog in the direction of the money that you make. And you may feel like for the last several years, and it'll be for many years to come, that you don't really have a clear sense of your finances in some regard. This is where the positive aspects of Neptune, the spiritual aspects, come in. If you really start to practice the law of attraction, you will understand that you're divinely protected at all times. And you won't fall prey to the attitudes of the world which keep you oppressed. And, by the way, keep you in jobs that you hate. So, and the same thing with any kind of negative relationship. There can be a tendency to stay in that because you're afraid of perhaps losing that environment, losing that way of life, that standard of living. And you have to make choices based on your happiness. And if you make most of your choices based on the material things around you, then you have to be willing to abide in that realm, which means that everything, you may have like a lot of luxury around you, because this card can be like that, but you may have a lot of emotional dissatisfaction. So the question becomes, is it worth it? And only you can determine that, Aquarius. It's funny. For whatever reason, I did not talk about this challenge card, and I'm going to do so now. This is the page of it. This is not the order that I normally do it. Your reading somehow is a little bit haywire, and I apologize for that. It usually is not. But I did have problems with you also in the reading I just posted for your prosperity. So I don't know what is going on with me in Aquarius, but I apologize for that. And I don't think I've ever had problems before, so I don't know exactly what's going on. You will have a lunar eclipse in August, so maybe I'm reacting to your transformation ahead of time. But this is a card of, this is a challenge position, the Page of Pentacles. Now, in that kind of, we would even read it like a reverse card. This could be speaking of that Mercury retrograde that is actually starting on August 12th. And so for you, let me see, that's going to be, I think that's your 6th house, if I'm not mistaken. If it's in Virgo, your opposite sign is Libra. Yeah. So that's in the 6th house of work. So even though that's not officially beginning in August, I do not hold this time frame of late July hard and fast. This may be something connected to the Mercury in retrograde. Maybe that's why I'm reading it last. And just kind of a cautionary tale, because Mercury starts going in its shadow in the final week in July. And this will be retrograding in your 6th house of work. So there may be some kind of a delay. So any kind of thing that you're trying to get going, maybe it's a new position or something like that, you may have to wait until September at some time when Mercury turns direct and it gains ground. It would be very close to the new moon in Virgo, around that time, maybe even to the day. And that will be on September 20th. Okay, so that's when Mercury regains its strength. And this will be a new moon in your 6th house. So in this interim, in this 2 months before that, 2.5 months, just feed yourself good thoughts to counter that negativity. And you will do just fine, Aquarius. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you'd like a private reading, most of them involve your natal chart. And that's your personal blueprint. Please click on the link below. Otherwise, have an awesome rest of July. Bye.